Have you ever poured your heart into something only to realize it was built on a lie? That's the gut punch I felt when I uncovered a secret that turned my family into strangers. I'm Danielle, 35, a self-taught day trader who clawed her way to success. For years, I thought I was the glue holding my family together, bankrolling their dreams without a second thought. But one evening, at our Bear Lake vacation home, the truth hit like a rogue wave, and nothing was ever the same. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. Every dollar I have, I earned through sleepless nights, hunched over my laptop, decoding market patterns like a puzzle only I could solve. By 35, I'd built a life I was proud of, not just for me, but for my family. 5 years ago, I started covering the property taxes on our family's vacation home in Bear Lake, Utah, a cedar-shingled retreat 120 miles from my Salt Lake City apartment. The taxes ran $700 a year wired straight from my account to keep the place ours. I didn't mind. It was my way of giving back to the parents who raised me, the sister who shared my childhood summers. But it wasn't just the taxes. My younger sister, Megan, 31, had dreams bigger than her bank account. When she said she couldn't afford her car payments, I stepped in covering $11, $680 over the years for her sleek sedan. Family vacations were on me too. Trips to California's coast weekends. Skiing in Colorado, $20, $400 total. Because I wanted those memories etched in our hearts. When Mom's knee surgery left gaps, insurance wouldn't touch. I paid those bills too. No questions asked. It added up, but I never tallied it. Why would I? Family doesn't keep score. The Bear Lake house was our sanctuary, a place where the lake's glassy surface mirrored the Wasatch Mountains under a pink dawn. I'd drive up from Salt Lake, the 2-hour trip, winding through canyons, and feel the weight of my trading days lift. We'd grill steaks on the deck, the air thick with pine and charcoal, and for a moment, everything felt right. Megan would laugh, Mom would hum old tunes, and Dad would nod approvingly, as if my efforts were just expected. I thought I was the backbone, the one who made it all possible. I thought they saw me. Looking back, there were hints I ignored. Megan always seemed to get what she wanted, a new dress, a weekend getaway, while I was the practical one, the one who had it together. Dad would say, "Danielle, you're so capable," like it was a compliment, but it felt like a weight. I brushed it off, chalking it up to birth order or timing. Megan was 4 years younger. Maybe they had more when she came along. I told myself it didn't matter. I was building my future and helping them was part of it. But that night at Bear Lake, when the lake shimmered under a fading sunset, I'd learned how wrong I was. The family I thought I knew was about to unravel, and I was standing on the edge of a truth that would change everything. What if the people you trusted most were hiding a secret that made your sacrifices a mockery? That's the question that burned through me as I stood in our Bear Lake vacation home, the place I'd poured my money into, only to discover I'd been played for a fool. One Sunday evening, a single piece of paper turned love into betrayal, and I saw them for who they were. It started innocently enough, a family dinner at the lake house, 120 miles from my Salt Lake City apartment. The wide windows framed the lake, its surface catching the last golden streaks of sunset. The air smelled of grilled steak and pine, a scent that used to mean relaxation. I was setting the table, humming, when Dad started pacing the living room, his face red, his voice slicing through the calm. "Danielle, how could you be so selfish?" he shouted. "Megan needs that money for her business venture. You have more than enough." I froze, a property tax bill he'd shoved at me crumpling in my hand. The room tilted, and the wooden beams and cozy furniture suddenly felt alien. Selfish me. I'd been the one holding this family together. For 5 years, I'd paid $8,700 annually for the lake house taxes, $43,500 total. I'd covered $11,680 for Megan's car payments month after month because she needed reliable transportation. I'd funded $20,400 in family vacations, Mom's medical bills, even $12,000 for a new roof last summer, driving up to Bear Lake myself to hand over the check under a blistering sun. I'd never asked for a dime back. "Dad," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I've been paying for everything. The taxes, Megan's car, and Mom's bills. I can't keep doing this forever." Mom sat on the couch, eyes glued to her folded hands, silent. Her refusal to meet my gaze stung worse than Dad's words. "We gave you everything growing up. Dad snapped, ignoring me, and now you're abandoning us while Megan tries to make something of herself. That's when I saw it, an envelope on the coffee table, half hidden under a magazine. The corner of a document peeked out bold letters spelling Trust Fund and Megan Walsh. My stomach dropped, a cold wave crashing over me. I grabbed it before Dad could react. "Danielle, that's private!" He barked, lunging forward, but I was already scanning the page. My hands trembled as the truth hit like a freight train. A $350,000 trust fund for Megan. Only Megan. The same father who said there wasn't enough for my college tuition, forcing me to work multiple jobs. The same father who expected me to bankroll their lifestyle while secretly securing Megan's future. When were you going to tell me? I whispered, a cold clarity washing over me. Every moment of favoritism clicked into place. The extra attention Megan got, the way my needs were always too much. Dad snatched the paper, folding it away. "You weren't supposed to see that," he muttered. Clearly, I shot back, my voice hollow. "I guess that explains why you never helped with my student loans." Mom finally spoke, her voice soft, placating, the kind that used to soothe me, but now felt like a lie. "Sweetheart, Megan needs more help. You've always been so independent." The twisted logic stole my breath. I was being punished for my strength while Megan was rewarded for her dependence. "All those times I asked for help," I said slowly. Memories flooding back when I worked 2 jobs in college, when my car broke down on I-15 in a snowstorm, when I needed a deposit for my first apartment. You said you couldn't afford it, but the money was there. For Megan, Dad shifted, uncomfortable. "Investments aren't that simple, Danielle. We had to think about the future. Just not my future," I retorted. He slid the tax bill toward me. "The taxes are due next month. The homeowners association raised fees again." I stared, incredulous. After this, he still expected me to pay. Something snapped inside me, a quiet seismic shift. "I'll take care of it," I said, picking up the bill. He relaxed, missing the steel in my eyes. As I left the lake house, the mountains loomed against the darkening sky, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. How does it feel to realize your sacrifices were built on a foundation of favoritism? Driving back to Salt Lake City from Bear Lake, the 120-mile stretch of canyon roads blurred as memories I'd buried resurfaced, each one a shard of glass cutting deeper, and the $350,000 trust fund my father set up for my sister Megan, while I scraped by, wasn't just a betrayal. It was the key to unlocking years of unequal treatment I'd been too loyal to question. As the Wasatch Mountains faded in my rearview mirror, I thought back to childhood in our modest Utah home. I was the serious one, always studying, while Megan, 4 years younger, twirled in dance classes Dad paid for without hesitation. At 16, she got a shiny red convertible, a birthday gift that gleamed in our driveway. I was still riding the city bus, my sneakers worn thin from shifts at a grocery store, saving for a $2,000 Honda with a dented fender. "Focus on your grades," Danielle, Dad would say, as if my hard work excused their indulgence of Megan. I swallowed the sting, believing effort would earn their pride. College was worse. I enrolled at the University of Utah, piecing together scholarships and working 30 hours a week at a coffee shop, the smell of burnt espresso clinging to my clothes. My shifts left me exhausted, but I graduated with honors. Megan, meanwhile, went to a private college in Colorado. Her tuition, housing, and even spending money were covered by Mom and Dad. I'd visit her dorm carrying textbooks I couldn't afford new, and smile as she showed off her new laptop, a gift for her studies. I told myself their finances must have improved by then. But the trust fund document I'd seen at Bear Lake, $350,000 for Megan, proved the money had always been there, just not for me. After graduation, I moved back home, my degree useless without a cushion to start. Fresh rent was impossible on my entry-level job's pay, and when I asked for help with a security deposit, Mom sighed. "We're stretched thin, Danielle." Yet when Megan graduated, they furnished her Denver apartment with a plush couch and a dining table I'd have killed, for I helped her unpack my arms, aching from carrying boxes, my smile forced as I wondered why my struggles never mattered. I'd rationalized it. Maybe they trusted me to figure it out. But that night at the lake house, the truth was undeniable. My parents had chosen Megan's comfort over my survival, and I'd been too busy proving myself to see it. The highway lights flickered as I neared Salt Lake City, my mind replaying smaller slights. Like Christmas, I got a used coat while Megan unwrapped a designer bag. Or the time I asked for $200 to fix my car's brakes, and Dad said, "Budget better, Danielle," while Megan's business trip to Vegas was fully funded. Each memory was a thread in a tapestry of favoritism woven so subtly I'd mistaken it for love. The trust fund wasn't just about money. It was proof I'd been the workhorse expected to carry the load while Megan was groomed for ease. As my apartment's skyline came into view, I gripped the steering wheel, anger replacing the hurt. I'd been blind, but not anymore. The family I'd poured everything into didn't deserve my loyalty, and I was done playing their game. What does it mean to reclaim your life from those who've taken you for granted? In my Salt Lake City apartment, the hum of my laptop was my only company as I turned betrayal into action. And after uncovering my father's $350,000 trust fund for my sister Megan, I wasn't just hurt, I was done. The 120-mile drive from Bear Lake had cleared my head, and now with the city's lights glittering outside, I was ready to rewrite the rules. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Dad's texts, "We're counting on you for the taxes," and Megan's "Don't be selfish." Danielle, I silenced it. Their entitlement fueling my resolve, I opened a folder on my laptop labeled Family Finances, a habit from my trading days where every cent was tracked. The spreadsheet glowed with numbers I'd never confronted: $43,500 for 5 years. Of Bear Lake property taxes, $11, $680 for Megan's car payments, $2,400 for vacations, $12,000 for the lake house roof, $8,200 for Mom's knee surgery. Total $95, $780, my stomach churned. That was money I could have invested, grown and used for my dreams. But I'd given it freely, thinking it bound us closer. The next morning, I called in sick and drove to Joseph Klein's office, my financial advisor since I'd started making real money 3 years ago. His office smelled of leather and coffee, a calm oasis from the storm inside me. I slid my spreadsheet across his desk. "This is what I've given them," I said. His eyes widened at the $95, $780 total. "And they've never repaid you?" he asked, removing his glasses. "They're family," I replied, the words hollow now. "Danielle, this is unsustainable," he said, his tone firm but kind. "You're enabling dependence while sabotaging your future." I nodded, the trust fund's shadow looming. "They've set up $350,000 for Megan and Joseph, while I've been draining my accounts." His expression darkened. "That changes everything." For 2 hours we plotted my exit. Joseph recommended Victor Hernandez, a forensic accountant who could verify my contributions. Document everything he urged. Receipts, bank statements, notarized records. If this gets ugly, you'll need proof. I left his office with a spark of power I hadn't felt in years, the city's morning bustle mirroring my newfound clarity. Back home, I gathered every record: tax payments, wire transfers, even emails from Megan begging for car money. My trading habits paid off. I was meticulous, and every transaction was categorized. Victor's office was a fortress of paper stacks, his desk buried under ledgers. "Your records are impeccable," he said, sorting through my files. "Most people don't track like this." He calculated not just the $95,780, but the interest I'd lost by diverting funds from my investments. $20,965, bringing the total to $118,745. The number hit like a slap vindication, laced with grief. "What now?" I asked. "Depends on your goal." Victor said, "Legal restitution's tricky without contracts, but a financial statement gives leverage." I chose leverage for now. As he prepared a notarized summary, my phone pinged. "Dad again. Tax due dates close." I ignored it, letting them sweat. That night, I made my move. I logged into my bank and canceled the automatic payment for Megan's car, my cursor hovering before clicking. Confirm. I removed myself as an authorized payer on all family accounts, utilities, insurance, the lake house's HOA fees. Then, in a moment of defiance, I transferred $120,000 from my brokerage account to a new fund labeled My Future. The act felt like shedding chains. I leaned back the city skyline, a silent witness to my rebellion. For the first time, I wasn't the dutiful daughter footing the bill. I was Danielle, 35, choosing myself. As I closed my laptop, a text from Mom flickered on my screen. "Danielle, the taxes are due soon. We're counting on you." I laughed, bitter but free. They thought I'd cave like always. But the trust fund had shattered their hold, and Victor's statement was my shield. The lake house, once a symbol of family, was now their problem. I turned off my phone, the silence louder than their demands. Whatever came next, anger, guilt trips, or worse, I was ready. I'd given them nearly $120,000, and they'd given me lies. It was time they learned what happened when the backbone walked away. What happens when you pull the plug on a family that's been draining you dry? After canceling their payments and transferring $120,000 to my future, I braced for the storm. And in my Salt Lake City apartment, 120 miles from the Bear Lake vacation home I'd once bankrolled, I watched my family unravel. The $350,000 trust fund my father hid for my sister Megan was my breaking point, and now with Victor's notarized statement of my $118,745 in contributions, I was done being their ATM, but they weren't ready to let go. The fallout hit like a blizzard. By noon, the next day, my phone was a war zone. Megan texted Danielle, "What's wrong with you? The bank says my car payment bounced." "Are you trying to ruin me?" Dad's message was colder. "Call me now. This is unacceptable." Mom left a voicemail, her voice trembling. "Danielle, the tax notice came with a late fee. Megan's car could be repossessed. Why are you doing this?" No apologies, just demands. I ignored them, focusing on a volatile trading day, and the stock charts were a welcome distraction. But the pressure mounted when my intercom buzzed. "Ms. Walsh, your father's here. The security guard said he's demanding to see you." I exhaled sharply. "Tell him I'm not available. If he won't leave, call the police." 20 minutes later, my cousin Thomas texted, "Saw Uncle Greg escorted from your building. What's happening?" "You okay?" I replied. "I'm fine. Family financial dispute." His response stunned me. "About time you stood up. Their favoritism toward Megan's been obvious forever. Someone else saw it. That validation was a lifeline." The tax deadline loomed and Dad's desperation grew. Uncle Pete emailed Danielle Greggs, asking me for a $10,000 loan for lake house taxes and penalties. "Says you're refusing to help. This isn't like you." I didn't respond yet. But Pete's words gnawed at me. Dad was spinning a tale of my betrayal. Then Thomas called, his voice urgent. "There's a family meeting at your parents' this weekend. Greg's rallying everyone to guilt you into paying again, calling it saving the family legacy. You need to be there." My stomach tightened, but Thomas added, "I'll back you." "You're not alone," I agreed, nerves jangling like loose change. The meeting was my chance to expose the truth, and I wasn't backing down. Saturday arrived crisp and clear. I drove 15 miles to my parents' suburban Utah home, wearing a black pantsuit that felt like armor. Victor's notarized statement detailing my $118,745 in contributions was in my briefcase, along with copies of the trust fund document I'd glimpsed. The living room was packed, aunts, uncles, cousins, the air thick with judgment. Dad stood by the fireplace mid-speech, his voice booming about family duty. He faltered when I entered, recovering with a forced smile. "Danielle, glad you're here. We're discussing the lake house crisis." I set my briefcase down, meeting his gaze. "I'm sure you've shared all the financial details, Dad." His eyes narrowed. "We're addressing your refusal to meet obligations." I opened my briefcase, pulling out the statement copies. "Interesting, because I've met $118,745 in obligations over 5 years. Money you never had for my education or housing. But somehow found for Megan's $350,000 trust fund." Murmurs rippled through the room. Aunt Catherine frowned. "What trust fund?" I handed out the summaries, my voice steady. "I've paid $43,500 in lake house taxes, $11,680 for Megan's car, $20,400 for vacations, $12,000 for repairs, $8,200 for Mom's surgery. Meanwhile, Dad set up a trust for Megan, leaving me to cover everything else." The room erupted. Uncle Pete stood, his face grim. "Greg, you said you were helping both girls equally?" Catherine clutched the paper, shaking her head. "This is wrong." Dad's face flushed crimson. "These are private matters," he roared. "Private until I paid for your lifestyle." I shot back. Megan sat frozen on the sofa, eyes downcast, while Mom dabbed at tears. Thomas nodded at me, a silent anchor. Pete turned to Dad. If Danielle's paid those taxes, she deserves part of the lake house. I hadn't considered that, but the idea landed hard. It was in their names. Despite my investment, I don't want it. I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. I want you to see the unfairness. Dad's eyes met mine, a flicker of fear beneath his anger. Then he stormed out, Mom trailing behind. Catherine approached, her voice soft. I had no idea Danielle. Greg said you didn't need help. Thomas gripped my shoulder. This isn't enough, Danielle. There should be consequences. As I drove home, the weight of their shock lingered, but so did my resolve. I'd laid bare the truth, and there was no going back. How do you measure the cost of standing up for yourself? In the quiet of my Salt Lake City apartment, 120 miles from the Bear Lake house, I'd stopped saving. I found freedom in the aftermath, and exposing my family's $350,000 trust fund for Megan, while I'd given $118, $745, wasn't just about money, it was about respect. The family meeting had cracked their facade, and now the pieces were falling into place. A week later, Dad texted, taxes are due, pay them. No remorse, just entitlement. But Megan called, voice shaky. I saw your documents. Danielle, I used my trust fund to pay the $700 in taxes and legal fees. You now own 25% of the lake house. I was stunned she'd acted, she added. I've asked Dad to split the trust equally. Uncle Pete and Aunt Catherine agree. He's meeting his advisor tomorrow. Relief hit. Not for the money, but for the fairness. Mom texted next. I'm proud of you, Danielle. I should have spoken up years ago. Her words, though late, softened the edges of my anger. With Joseph's help, I restructured my portfolio, free of family burdens. The $120,000 in my future fund grew, and I eyed a small cabin in Park City, 30 miles away for myself. The lake house no longer held me hostage. Megan's call lingered in my mind. Thank you for making us face it. Danielle. For the first time, I felt seen. If this story resonates, share it, like it, and comment below. Have you faced family unfairness? How did you fight back? I want to hear your stories.
What does love look like when pressed into the creases of a perfectly ironed shirt but never spoken aloud? I've spent years chasing that question, piecing together fragments of affection from my parents' silent gestures, hoping they might one day see me as more than a duty. My name is Naomi, 34, a mother of two, married to Eric, who anchors our modest life in a small American suburb 2 hours from where I grew up. Our home hums with the gentle chaos of Thomas and Grace, my children, whose laughter fills the spaces my childhood never did. I've always believed family is a tapestry woven with effort, so I call my parents weekly, visit every other month, and carry the weight of their indifference like a badge of loyalty. But lately, I've begun to wonder if I'm stitching a pattern that was never meant to hold. Growing up, my parents, Dennis and Marlene, were not the kind to hug or praise. Love was a lunch packed with precision, a house kept spotless, silence prized over chatter. I didn't know to crave more. I thought their restraint was normal, their formality a kind of care. My father read his newspaper at breakfast, nodding at my report cards without comment. My mother folded laundry with a focus that left no room for conversation. I learned to measure their approval in the absence of criticism, a fragile currency I spent my youth collecting. Now, as an adult, I drive 120 miles to their tidy colonial home, hoping for a warmth I've never quite found. The visits are polite, like stepping into a museum of my past. My mother talks of her gardens yield zucchini this year. Tomatoes last while my father asks about Eric's job. Never mind. My bookkeeping work, pieced together between school runs and laundry, seems invisible to them. Eric notices the distance. It's like we're visiting acquaintances, he says after we leave, his voice soft but pointed. He's right. They don't ask about Thomas's soccer games or Grace's drawings, though I bring their artwork anyway, hoping it might spark a smile. Last year, my mother gave Thomas a book with another child's name scrawled inside. A regift she laughed off. A book's a book, isn't it? She said, and I nodded, swallowing the sting. My children, thoughtful and quiet. Sense the chill, but don't name it. They sit politely on the couch, waiting for a welcome that never fully arrives. Then there's Ryan, my younger brother, 32. A spark of charm where I am steady. He lives closer to our parents. His life a glossy contrast to mine. Ryan runs an investment firm. His world is one of vacation homes and sleek cars. When my parents speak of him, their eyes brighten. Their voices lift. Ryan's planning something big. My father said last visit. A secret smile tugging at his lips. I didn't ask what. But the air shifted, heavy with their pride. I tell myself it's not a comparison, that their love for him doesn't diminish me. But in their house, I feel like a guest who's overstayed. My presence tolerated, never celebrated. Eric squeezes my hand as we drive home, his silence louder than words. I want to believe I'm enough for them, but the doubt lingers, a shadow I can't outrun. The first weekend of December arrived with a crisp bite in the air, the kind that promises snow and holiday warmth. I dialed my mother's number, picturing her in her pristine kitchen, the phone cradled against her shoulder as she diced carrots. Can we come by Saturday afternoon, I asked. My voice light, hopeful. There was a pause, a faint rustle. Then her measured reply, we're having some people over. Naomi, but you can come for a bit if you don't mind. The hesitation should have warned me, but I brushed it aside, eager for a moment of connection before Christmas chaos descended. I hung up, already planning the gingerbread cookies Thomas and Grace could help bake, a small offering to bridge the gap between us. When we pulled into my parents' driveway that Saturday, Ryan's sedan and Vanessa's SUV gleamed under the winter sun, a silent announcement of their presence. Laughter spilled from the open front door, warm and unfamiliar. I glanced at Eric, who offered a small shrug, his eyes saying what I wouldn't. This wasn't our space. Inside, the house glowed with holiday cheer garland draped along the banister, a cinnamon candle flickering on the mantel, the skeleton of a Christmas tree waiting for ornaments. My parents, Ryan, Vanessa, and their 3 kids crowded around the dining table, mugs of hot cider in hand, their voices overlapping in a merry hum. Naomi, my mother said, her smile too wide, too late. Oh, you brought the children. How lovely. No one rose to greet us. Ryan gave a quick nod, mid-story about a Colorado ski chalet, while Vanessa, in a cream sweater, showed my mother photos on her phone, her laughter bright as polished silver. I stood frozen, ushering Thomas and Grace inside as Eric hung our coats without a word. My children hovered at the room's edge, their quiet observance a mirror of my childhood. My father tossed a distracted, "Hey there," to Thomas, his eyes glued to his newspaper, while Grace's small wave went unnoticed. Ryan's youngest clambered onto my father's lap, cookie crumbs on her chin, as my mother fussed over Vanessa's coat, calling her my elegant girl. The words landed like a pebble in still water, rippling through me. I set my tin of gingerbread cookies on the side table. We baked these together. I said, my voice thinner than I meant. My mother barely glanced up. Oh, we've got plenty of sweets. Dear, she said, her attention back on Vanessa's bracelet, some designer piece that drew a gasp. Ryan spoils you, she giggled, and the room laughed with her. We stayed for less than an hour. Eric made small talk with my father about football while I sat in the living room, watching my children try to join their cousin's tablet game, only to be gently excluded. No one noticed when we slipped out. The door clicking shut behind us. In the car, Thomas's voice was small. Mom, did we do something wrong? I swallowed the ache in my throat. No, sweetheart, not at all. That night, I lay awake, the memory of my mother's dismissal looping in my mind, Grace's unanswered question about the tree, Vanessa's bracelet glinting like a crown. Eric's hand found mine in the dark. Don't take it personally, he murmured, but the words felt hollow. How could I not? The truth was sharpening. Cutting through years of excuses, I wasn't imagining their preference for Ryan's family. It was real, and it hurt. A voicemail blinked on my phone Monday morning. My mother's voice softer than usual, almost fragile. Hi, it's me, she said, the words trailing like a sigh. Your father's car is making that rattling noise again. And he's stubborn about the garage. We're a bit tight this month. If you could help, we'd be so grateful. No pressure. Dear. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee cooling in my mug. The sting of Saturday's visit still raw. The request wasn't new. There'd been others for a leaky roof, a new furnace, even their old spaniel's surgery, but this one landed differently, heavier. I played the message again, searching for warmth in her tone, some sign that the cold welcome at their house was a misstep, not a truth. Eric leaned against the counter, watching me. How much this time, he asked. His voice gentle but edged. I didn't know yet, but I'd find out. I called my mother back, keeping my tone even. What's the estimate for the car, I asked. She rattled off details of belt, some hoses. $500 at least. I nodded to myself, already mentally shuffling our grocery budget, postponing the kids' new winter boots. I'll send it today, I said, and she exhaled, her relief palpable. You're a blessing, sweetheart. She texted later. The word sweetheart glowing on my screen, it was a rare endearment, one I hadn't heard since I was a girl, and it softened something inside me, like snow melting under a brief sun. Maybe the visit was just bad timing. I told myself, maybe they were distracted, caught up in Ryan's orbit. Christmas was coming, and surely they'd want us there. Our family woven into their holiday like always. That evening, I gathered Thomas and Grace to bake spiced apple muffins, their small hands dusting flour across the counter. We wrapped a dozen in a red tin, tucked in a card from Grace with glittery stars and a snowman doodle from Thomas. I mailed it the next day. The postage a quiet sacrifice from our savings. Eric watched me seal the package. His brow furrowed. You're doing more than your share, he said, his hand brushing my shoulder. I smiled, but my chest tightened. I wanted to believe my parents saw my efforts, that this gesture would mend the fracture I felt. The $500 left our account with a soft chime from my banking app, and I adjusted our meal plan, more pasta, fewer treats to balance it. Christmas would be tight, but I clung to the hope of a family gathering, picturing us around their table, the kids in matching sweaters, my mother's cranberry chutney on the side. By midweek, I was planning our holiday drive, mentally packing pies and the photo book I'd started, a tradition of captured moments. Thomas's science fair, Grace's ballet recital. The hope felt fragile, like a glass ornament, but I held it close, convincing myself the voicemail's warmth meant change. Eric didn't push, but his quiet kisses carried a warning, don't expect too much. I ignored it, letting the rhythm of our home laundry, school runs, my bookkeeping spreadsheets carry me forward. The muffins would arrive soon, and I imagined my mother's smile, my father's nod, a sign they valued us. It was a small dream, but it kept the ache at bay, at least for now. The week before Christmas, our house sparkled with the kind of chaos that felt like love. Eric wrapping gifts on the living room floor, Thomas and Grace scribbling cards at the table, cinnamon buns cooling by the window. I was checking the photo book's final layout, each page a mosaic of our year's joy. When my mother's call broke the hum, her voice was crisp, businesslike. Are you still planning to come for Christmas? She asked. My heart lifted, visions of our drive already forming. Yes, I said. We'll come on the 24th. Stay through the 26th. I've got the photo book done, and the kids are excited. I'll bring pies. She cut me off, her tone shifting. I see. Well, Ryan and Vanessa are bringing friends from Aspen. They'll be staying. And with all the kids, it's too much. The house is full. The words landed like a door slamming shut. I blinked, my voice catching. But we always come. I managed. She chuckled, a sound like brittle glass. I know, dear. But it's a tight squeeze. Maybe January. Just us girls. I forced a smile into my reply. Right. Of course, and hung up. The phone heavy in my hand, Eric looked up from his wrapping, his eyes reading my silence. We're not going, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Thomas, lingering in the doorway, frowned. But Grandma said we could come last year. Did she forget? I shook my head, the ache in my throat choking my words. No, sweetheart, she didn't. That night, I sat alone, the Christmas lights casting soft shadows, my tea gone cold. The photo book lay on the couch, its cover mocking my hope. I wanted to scream, to call her back, but I just sat, the weight of their choice settling like frost. 3 days before Christmas, the phone rang again. My mother's name flashed, and I nearly ignored it, my finger hovering over decline, but I answered, bracing myself. Hi, she said, her tone falsely bright. Your father's back is acting up. We found an orthopedic recliner on sale, but money's tight. Could you help? I closed my eyes, the audacity of it sparking something sharp. You mean pay for it? I asked, my voice low. She hesitated. Only if you can. Dear, I pressed my fingers to my temple. I sent you $500 2 weeks ago. I said, and you didn't let us come for Christmas. Her voice cooled. I explained, Naomi, Ryan's friends are here. I snapped before I could stop myself. Not just his family friends. We weren't even a consideration. She bristled. Ryan works hard. He needs this. You're being dramatic. The words stung, but I steadied myself. No, I said, I'm being honest. You don't ask Ryan for money. Do you? You call me because I won't say no. Silence stretched. Then her voice turned sharp. We love Ryan's family more. They bring joy. You bring stress. Always watching for slights. And frankly, you owe us. We paid for your college. Your first car. Don't pretend we haven't done our part. The words were a cold stone in my chest. I hung up, my hands trembling. Eric found me later, his face falling at my expression. What did she say? He asked. I swallowed. That I owe them everything, and they love Ryan's family more. He didn't speak, just held me. I walked to the fireplace. The photo book in hand, I opened it, saw Grace's smile, Thomas's proud grin, and tossed it into the flames. It curled, blackened, and was one. The fire's heat couldn't touch the chill inside me, but it was a start, a severance of something I'd carried too long. The ashes of the photo book still clung to the fireplace grate when I made my choice. A quiet vow in the dark no more. My mother's words that they loved Ryan's family more, that I owed them echoed like a slammed door. But I refused to knock again. 2 days before Christmas. Her number lit up my phone, insistent as a pulse. I let it ring, then ring again, until weariness won over resolve. I've been thinking, she said, her voice syrupy with false warmth. Come for Christmas. Just you. Leave Eric and the kids with his folks. You could take the guest room. The offer was a splinter, sharp and deliberate. I gripped the table's edge, my voice steady. You want me to abandon my family to beg for a bed in a house you've already given to Ryan's guests? She huffed. I'm offering an olive branch. No. I said, you're offering shame. I hung up, my heart thudding, and opened my banking app. With a tap, I canceled the monthly $200 I'd sent them for years. A weight lifting as the confirmation flashed. Eric found me in the kitchen, his eyes searching. Everything okay? He asked. I'm done. I said, the words solid, final. No more money, no more trying. He wrapped his arms around me, whispering. Good. That evening, I sat with Thomas and Grace under the tree's soft glow. We're staying home this Christmas, I told them, my voice warm. It'll be different, but we'll make it ours. Grace's brow furrowed. Will we still have presents? I smiled. Yes. And cookies. And maybe Dad's terrible guitar carols. Thomas giggled. And Eric raised a mock protesting hand. Our Christmas was simple burnt sugar cookies. A lopsided star atop the tree. Laughter over spilled hot cocoa. It wasn't their house, but it was ours. Warm and whole. Days after, I scrolled online and froze at Ryan's post, my parents' living room. Lit like a magazine spread. My father with wine. My mother cradling Ryan's daughter. The caption, grateful for family. My absence was a void. Unacknowledged. Ryan called soon after. His tone breezy. Mom's confused why you're so upset. He said, it was a great night. No drama. I sat, letting his words settle. A proper family. You said, Without us. He sighed. Don't twist it. Mom just wanted peace. I laughed. Sharp and low. She got it. No me. No stress. Tell her I'm not upset, I'm finished. I hung up. My hands steady. The silence not empty, but mine. Christmas faded. But our home stayed bright. A fortress of small joys board games by lamplight. Grace's cardboard castle in the living room. I'd stopped chasing their approval. And in its place, I found us. January's chill settled over our suburb. But my home felt warmer, as if cutting ties had let light in. My phone stayed quiet, no calls from my parents. No texts, and the silence was a balm, not a wound. Then came the proxy's Aunt Carol's text. Your mother's heartbroken. Family matters. Followed by Cousin Linda's call, circling to life's short. Let it go. I listened, nodded, and steered the conversation elsewhere. Their words sliding off me like rain. A letter arrived next. My mother's neat script on thin paper. No return address. We don't understand why you've estranged us. It read, you have a home because of us. You owe us. Daughter. No mention of my children. No regret. Just duty dressed as love. I folded it. Tucked it into a drawer with old relics, a prom corsage, a faded card, and left it there. Unopened again. In February, my mother called. Her voice clipped. Your father's unwell. She said, medical bills are piling up. There's confusion in the family about why you've turned on us. I stood on our porch, snow dusting my boots. I haven't turned. I said, I've stopped pretending. She scoffed. You owe us a conversation. This is it. I replied, but no more money. No more pieces of me for your tolerance. I wished my father well. Then hung up, blocking her number. Ryan's and my father's. The act was calm. Necessary. Like pruning a dead branch. Our home bloomed in the weeks that followed movie nights with popcorn, a fresh blue coat on the hallway walls, and my bookkeeping clients chosen on my terms. Eric noticed. You're lighter, he said over breakfast. And I kissed his cheek. Feeling it too. March brought an email from Ryan. No subject. Just, can we talk? Not about Mom. Curiosity won. And we met at a park. Benches dusted with early spring frost. He looked polished but uneasy. Mom's not calling anymore. He said, she got your message. I raised an eyebrow. That I'm not her bank. He nodded sheepishly. Did Dad need that recliner, I asked? He shook his head. His back's fine. Always was. The lie stung. But it freed me. They never asked you for money. I said, not a question. No, he admitted. Eyes averted. I stood. My voice soft. I carried them for years, thinking it'd make me enough. I'm done. He nodded. And we parted without an embrace. Just a glance. That night, I deleted their texts, their photos, my fingers steady. I texted Eric Easter. Just us. Something special. Tucking Grace in. She whispered, I loved our Christmas. Can we do it again? I brushed her hair back. Always. Sweetheart. The hallway's quiet wasn't hollow, it was full, brimming with the life I'd chosen, the peace I'd claimed.